is what I was explaining before about grid columns is JDE again manages when things get placed where. Okay, so when I click the select button, okay, JDE will manage this part for me. Hang on, let me go back. Remember I said when the grid line written before is where the grid columns get initialized with the data from the business view. So record by record, it's changing. As this thing is loading, it's changing. Okay, so, well, I don't know how to do it. Like here, for example, here. Yeah, keep that. Here, in this example here. Okay, I'm just gonna work with grid column short item number, okay? It's the same for all of them. Okay, so here, GC equals 100. Here, GC equals, actually it's GC. Okay, so this happens on the load process when it's loading. It's loading record by record and displaying them record by record. Now everything's been displayed. I select this record here. When I click the select button, I want JDE to pass that grid record column 1006. JDE will automatically manage copying the data that's in there to that variable. I only have one of those variables available to me, right? GC short item number. The value that's in there depends on the event that's triggered. So when I'm loading grids, when on the load process, right, the grid column item number contains the record that's about to be written to the grid. But once the grid has been already displayed, then when I click the select button, yeah, go like over here, and I click the select button here, what the data that I'm passing to the form is the GC. So JDE is automatically managing, copy that value there of the currently selected record to GC. So when I click select here, that's the value that's going to be passed to the form. Okay, so the point there is that the JDE, depending on the events that you're in, will manage copying the data that it needs to copy. And what you'll see a lot of is that when you're loading a grid or grid records, you're going to see the grid records are referring to what is currently being loaded, like what record is currently being loaded. Whereas when you're clicking buttons, row exits mainly, select button happens for a line. Row exits happen for a line. And I go row and I and I add something here. That's a row exit. Okay. Row exit. Well, you know what I'll do? I'll just show you actually like this. I'm going to show you the life cycle and how JDE is managing that one variable. I have one variable that I'm showing you right now. Short item number. The grid column short item number. So I put I'm gonna display that value. I put it in a few events. I put it in grid record is sorry right grid line before. I'm gonna show you the value of that's in that one variable. I put it, and then I also put it in the select and a row exit. So when I preview, right away, it's going to start popping up for every single record that gets fetched. Grid column, just like before. Okay, so I see I have 1,000. First record goes loaded, written to the screen. Second one was loaded, it's 1,001, written to the screen. Third one, it's going to keep doing this as it's loading every single record. I don't even see it yet, but it's starting getting rendered on the screen. So I'm going to see this 50 times because I'm loaded 50 records at a time. Okay, loaded them all. Right now, the value that's in that field, if I were to display that right here, is the last one that it hit. So grid column right now, grid column short item number contains that value, 1240. When I click this and I click select, JDE is going to say copy that value to the grid column short item number. So when I click select, you're going to see 1230. I'm showing the same variable, but JDE is managing copying it depending on the type of event. So select always works on a record. So JDE, that's a special thing. Select, JDE will copy whatever values you have there to the grid column correspond equivalents. So this value will get copied to the grid column short item number. This column will get copied to the grid column unit of measure. This one to the grid column length, and so on. So that is how you're able to because a lot of times you want to take action, you want to pass data for that record, right? So to pass data for that record, you do row exits or selects. Row exit is a select is a special type, okay? It's usually for editing something. Row exit is like, okay, well, I want to take that data and I want to call, for example, here I'll show you. I want to go to I want to check the availability of that item. Okay? Or I want to check this item in the item master, for example. So what a row exit can do is I'm going to exit to something. For example, I'm going to go to a form interconnect. I'm going to do so if I want to say on my row exit, I want to edit that item number. I'm going to go to another application. I'm going to pass that value to that application. Well, if I want to pass that value on a row exit, I have to pass the grid column. Because JDE, I know that JDE, when I click that button, JDE, because it's a row exit, JDE is gonna take whatever values in the currently selected record and it's gonna copy it to this variable for me. So now I have access to that currently selected short item number. So I could just do it like that. I don't have to worry about traversing figuring out what column, in C Sharp, you got to do all of that work, right? In JavaScript, you got to do all that work. Which record was selected? Well, you got to find the event that got triggered. Then you got to find the closest whatever, and then you got to, right? You got to do all that work. JD's managing all that for you. So JD is assigning the value. You have the value now, right? So it's behind the scenes. It's all happening, but it's there. It's like okay. So now when I call this, okay, when I call this and I click, come on. Oh no, it's gonna. Okay, when I call this, click select. It's gonna call another application. Did it? How come it didn't work? Ah, oh, it's my row exit. Row exit. It's gonna call another application, and it's gonna pass that number to it. And that application, if it's programmed to accept that and load that data, which I'm pretty sure it is going to load the data for that item into and to start editing that item. See? It loaded it. It loaded all the data for that item. And now I can edit that particular item. That's a row exit. So now I'm able to say quickly from this screen, go and edit this item. Not the weights and measures for that item, just that particular item. Go and edit it. Just by passing the short item number, because I pass the short item number, and then the calling, the application that's being called is programmed in such a way to accept that short item number, load all the data for that, and modify it. Right? So it's the same. It's the same. My point with all of that is that grid columns, business view columns, they're all the value that they take on is managed like 85% by JDE, but you have complete control to modify them if you need to. Complete control, but it's all managed from JDE. And what you need to look at and what you need to learn is that life cycle of when things get initialized. And it'll help if you read that, but really it's going to be through a little bit of practice that you're going to see the common events that you use for the different types of forms that you use and when things get initialized and what's the right time, like what's the right place for the code, right? Like I can change this value in two different places, three different places if I want to. But what's the best place for it? And that's going to take some time to get used to. So, and then one last thing, okay, is I'll stop that.